Actually, I do not have a problem with interracial couples at all, and I do think if the opportunity presents itself, then there's nothing wrong with dating outside your race. However, I do, as a black woman, I have such a high regard for black relationships because we don't have them in the community. There are a lot of times where if it's a Caucasian woman, dating an African American man, or if it's a black woman dating a Philippine or a Caucasian man, I think sometimes if there is no teacher in the household, sometimes young girls and young guys grow up believing the stereotypes that are placed on black couples because we don't have strong black couples in our community.
So then would that be a stereotype or would those be facts? Because, well, I just want to say, because when you said what we don't have in the community, but what we do have in the community is what looks factual, and a lot of mothers raising their children by themselves. And that's not a stereotype, it ends up being factual because that's what the community looks like. And I guess for me, one, because I am sensitive to the subject, because I have married a white man, but I'm gonna tell you what changed for me, and I'm not gonna speak on this after this. I used to have a list, and the list looked like you were this tall, this color, this, and this, that. And it was not until I changed my walk with Christ that I realized that if I serve a God that I say have created all of us, I don't get that right to say what it looks like. And so I threw away that list, and no sooner than I threw away that list and included 4 years of abstinence and some other things, my husband, Prince Charming, came in, who worships the ground I walk on, and I will not say that black men don't do that. I believe that by all means, but I believe it starts with first just accepting that there's some things that are stereotypes, there's some things that are facts, but there's this one thing that's called love. And when it comes about, I feel like when you said if it happens naturally, I struggle with if it happens naturally, but then single women will try to go where the black men are, a mammoth ski trip and all these things to look for. That's not natural. That's going fishing or, so I mean, understand the culture of, so that's going looking. So I feel like if we're going to say natural, then it should natural, like, no, my husband. You met him at the grocery store. Natural, I mean, like, we don't see natural. If we're in the grocery store and there's a white guy, we're not trying to be cute, but you see that tall black dude, you're like, oh, I think I left something on that aisle.
When I say, just to make clarity, when I do say natural, I mean that, for example, there are some black women who really don't believe that they're beautiful, or that a black man, or to have a black male as a mate is powerful, because they've been trained to think, oh, I need to date outside of my race to get and which you and your husband and your family could be displaying is love and is actuality, but because they've never been taught, they believe what they see, and now they're saying, okay, how can I get this? So I have to go outside of myself, outside of what I look like, and get something that I'm seeing, but we're really... So that's, the culture is lost.
And the culture is lost, and the culture is taught, and that's why I struggle, is why do we have to teach love? We have so many things that we've made lessons, like kind of like that thing we were talking about before, like we teach to defend as opposed to just teach to embrace. So if we're talking about what's taught, what's not taught is everybody's human, there's good and there's bad in everybody. Daddy leaves black, daddy leaves white. What we need to quit trying to teach so much and just model great love.
But do you think that, like, for example, I think one of the reasons why it's taken black women so long to start interracial dating is because I think black women, like you guys are saying, I think you guys are saying it a little different than it's being said in my mind, is that we still see the black family.
Yes.
A black woman, a black man, and a black children going to a black church in this black love. However, young black boys see something different. When they see success, for years they've seen a rich black man with a white woman. And they've seen that in magazines, they see it on television, and we haven't seen that same picture. You know, until recently, have you seen the Imans married to the David Bowies and the Obama? And you know, have you really seen that from the black woman's perspective? And I think that that's why things are changing, as well as the incarceration of black men. I mean, when I go speak to children in elementary school, it's 50-50. There's black kids, there's black boys, there's black girls. You get to junior high school, a little higher number. More black girls, you know, less black boys. You get to high school, it's a little scary. And let's not even talk about college, because a lot of, even in the African American, historically black colleges, the odds are like 50 to 1.
Right.
So it's like, I think that black women are now being forced to start dating outside their race because there's no one, there for them.
I think too it's because times have changed. Divorce is like a piece of candy. Everybody can take it, everybody can have it. People don't worship marriage anymore. Like, I grew up with my grandparents who were married for 52 years. They had tons of problems, but they made it work. And my parents were together for 25 years before they actually divorced, and that just blew my mind. I'm like, after 25 years, y'all couldn't work it out. But something happened, but I still hold on to the fact of what I saw, and I want to, instead, unlike my parents, when I have a problem, I want to work it out. I've been with my husband for 16 years, and my grandmother was, biracial, Indian and black and white, and my grandfather was black, but they were a black family. So that's what I saw growing up. Like, I saw that, and all my friends, I had 5 best friends that we all grew up together. I was the only one whose father was at home. So early on, women were just not seeing people be together, their parents. If I had models to show me that. Maybe you had a single or family home, or maybe, you saw, black and white as your background. But if I saw that, that's what I wanted. I'm like, oh, I want to be like my mom and dad. I want to be like my grandparents. And now, people getting married for 2 and 3 months and divorcing, so you don't have anything to see.
I was just gonna say, because I come from an interracial family, and growing up it was really confusing. Who am I? Whatever, And to make it even more confusing, my mother is an immigrant from Haiti, so the Haitian culture is very, very different than the African American culture. What does it mean to be black? What does it mean to be white in America? Because it's so much cultural. Everyone looks different. A black woman can stand next to a black woman, come from black families, and look completely different. Right. And so I think sometimes we get so caught up in like images and stuff when it really is cultural. And growing up, my mother always told us, you are both. Don't say one or the other. I grew up with black families successful. I grew up watching families who were like the Obamas, successful women with PhDs, and a black man who's a lawyer. I've seen white families. And I've seen families that, black families that were destroyed. I've seen white families destroyed. So like, I kind of sometimes have a really hard time because the paradigm that I grew up in is so much more beyond race than a lot of people. And it was something to be grateful for. And that's where America's going, is it's, as time goes by, we cannot rely on race anymore because of opportunities, because of a global world. And, for me, I've never dated someone my race. I've never dated someone who was black or white. They look like my brothers. So it's hard for me to date a light-skinned man because they look like my brothers. Like everyone else, it's like, I don't know, it's weird. Y'all look too much alike, Like, I don't know, but it's totally fine, and it's just going off of this conversation. I think the most important thing is to, if you are in an interracial relationship or an interracial marriage, you have to be honest with your kids about race. My mother told me, I grew up, I hated it because people were like, you ain't black enough, you ain't white enough. And my mom would be like, you are who you are. You cannot, and it doesn't matter because the things that I went through, black girls go through, white girls go through. It's an issue of identity and finding your identity. And even though it's easier for, us to pinpoint race because it's so visual, every child, every person goes through an identity thing. And I think when it comes down to it it's a relationship. And girl, I totally feel you. I want the black family to come up in TV too, and I feel the same way. Sometimes I'm like, you just talking to me because I'm white. You know what I'm saying? Like, because there is that stigma. Yeah, right. There is a stigma, but I think that as long as we are true to ourselves and we have a family that's real, I knew I was black and I was white. I knew the issues in the black community. I knew the issues in the white community, and I was not afraid to talk about it, and I was not afraid to be real about it. And so we have to be real because when you're honest, you can break barriers, you can break chains.
All right, so when it comes to interracial dating, I feel like a big part of it, and I don't think I've heard you guys mention it, is self-acceptance. I feel like as little girls and, black women, Afro-Latin women, it's the same thing to me. You grow up thinking you belong with this certain type of man, or you deserve this and you don't deserve that, or maybe he's not going to like me because my skin color's this and my this looks different, and maybe he's not going to be attracted to that. I feel like everything is evolving, and so are we. So we're like, you know what, it's okay, I can be with that person, and he'll like me for who I am. So self-acceptance is a big issue.
Well, I think when you go back to talking about self-acceptance, I think one thing that we struggle with in the African American community, specifically in the African American community, is our self-esteem and our self-acceptance. And so as women, every woman black woman that's on television, you see them giving a part of themselves in order to feel or to lift themselves in some kind of way. And that is really a huge issue for me. And I have no problem with interracial dating. I do believe, though, that we have to see more successful African American relationships, just black relationships, period. And I have a black man, and I'm not married. I hope that's come soon. But, you know, my goal is I want to pop out a whole bunch of little chocolate babies, boys, and I want to raise them to be great men, because that's not something that we see. And I want to raise great men with a husband and a father present. And I think it kind of goes back to what we're seeing. And I will ride right back on your coattails on what you said. Love does not have a face.
That's right.
It does not.
That is the only factor